doing, guys? Welcome to our Georgia Repairs here with another video. And today we're working on a Chevy Sonic. We're going to be replacing the front brakes, and I'm going to show you from start to finish the process on how to do so. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and leave any comment you might want for me to do future videos on. And I hope you enjoy this video. So let's get to it.
Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the tires on the front because we're going to be replacing the front brake pads. It's a 19mm socket. Okay, so make sure you remove the front tires so you can expose the rotor and the caliper and the brake pads. And also, I almost forgot, make sure you secure your vehicle properly. Okay, so these are the basic tools that you're going to need for the job. You're going to need a 19mm socket, 1/2-inch socket to remove the tire. You're also going to need a T30 torque socket for this screw here. You're also going to need a 10mm socket for the caliper bolts. You're going to need a 19mm socket for the caliper bracket bolts. And I recommend you have an extension or a ratchet long enough to create the correct amount of torque you need for that and make it easier for you. And this is just so I can get my job done a little faster. So let's go ahead. We're gonna start by removing the 10mm caliper bolts here. Now that I have removed the caliper bolts, I'm just gonna remove the caliper and just put it either over this area, get it out the way, or you can put it under this area as long as it's out the way, or you can even hang it, use a hanger and hang it to this bracket here as long as it's out the way. So I'm gonna put it here for now, and now I'm gonna be worried about the caliper bracket bolts, which are 19mm. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen those. These are being a little stubborn for the excess amount of Loctite they have. So instead of using the electric impact here, I see that it's having a little trouble. So I'm going to just get my ratchet, and just do it manually until I feel that they have released well enough so then I can continue using my electric ratchet or impact. I'm going to do it to this one as well until I feel that they're loose enough so they won't create too much strain on the thread or on my impact. I'm gonna do a brake check. Look at that, guys. I can almost cut my finger on them. That's how thin they are. Hey, but that's why we're here, right? We're here to make this person's life better for them having brand new brakes. Now, guys, I don't have my impact drive to release this. That's what I'll normally use. You know, put it there and give it a couple of hits with a hammer so I can release this, but I don't know how corroded this one is. I'm gonna try to just use my my own force, my own weight. Hopefully I don't strip it, especially if it's a torque. Those just tend to strip. So let me just go ahead and try to do it. Okay, guys, turns out we did not need to use too much torque on this to remove it. It was literally okay, guys, this is the right side. In the left side, the rotor came out pretty easily, but in this side you can see all that corrosion build up there. That's not letting me take the rotor out with my own strength. So if you come across this issue, I'm going to show you how to resolve it. What you're going to do first is you're going to put this torque bolt that you took out, what's holding the rotor on the hub, and you're gonna put it in about half the threads. You don't have to completely put it in. Just put it in halfway like that. The reason why is because you're going to be hitting the rotor with a plastic hammer. Very important, it has to be plastic, because you do not want to ruin the metal. It has to be plastic. You're going to be hitting it on certain points so that you can release the corrosion that has built up there. But first, you're going to get some penetrating WD-40. Works a lot better than the regular one. You're going to put it in those points there. Also put it in the wherever you might think that corrosion buildup could be. Okay. And you're going to let it sit, you know, a couple of minutes. Let it penetrate through this rust. And then what we're going to do is, with this bolt on halfway, you're going to just hit the rotor on the outer edges here to try to release that corrosion there. There you go, it released. Okay guys, I'm beginning the disc cutting process. Okay guys, so the first pass of cutting the rotors is done, and I'm actually really happy how it turned out. It is really smooth. This disc wasn't that warped as I expected. It's actually very smooth. So I'm done with this one. I'm gonna put the other one. One thing I wanted to say is that you always got to resurface the rotors when doing brake jobs. When it comes to American vehicles, Japanese vehicles, the only manufacturer that I've heard that you do not have to cut the rotors, or if they're badly warped you have to replace them, is German cars, Mercedes, BMWs, Audis, Volkswagen vehicles like that. Yes, some of them in their owner's manual, or within, for example, Mercedes-Benz, they actually don't recommend you resurface them. They recommend just putting the pad on the disc until the certain specification becomes off on the next round, which I believe is a thickness, and then you replace the whole rotor. So that's the only manufacturer that manufacturers that you do not have to resurface the rotors every time you do a brake job, which is the German ones, until a certain time that you have to replace them. So if that's not your case, you have to resurface it. Okay, so time to go to the next one. Okay guys, our rotor is nice and smooth. Okay, the first step you got to do is go ahead and put that torque bolt. Okay, doesn't have to be too tight, don't break it, don't strip it, but go ahead and tighten that, make sure the rotor is secure. Okay guys, the pads that I'm going to be installing in this vehicle are the Duralast Gold ceramic brake pads. This is the part number for the Sonic here. Okay, right now I'm in the process. I just removed the old hardware kit. If your pads do not come with a hardware kit, then use the ones that are still in the vehicle. Just give them a nice clean with a wire brush, clean them up real nice. So I'm actually going to be using the one provided, but first I'm going to get a wire brush and I'm going to basically clean out all this dust that has accumulated on this bracket here. So I'm going to do that first. Okay guys, take a look. It's nice and clean. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the hardware kit on here. Okay guys, the hardware kit has been installed. One thing, little pointer, once you install this hardware here, you got to push this in the middle down so that it can pressurize itself with this part of the caliper bracket, so it can get a solid, a solid fitting, and it won't move or it won't have the possibility of interfering with the rotor or anything like that. So just push this part here, okay, on both sides. Okay guys, before I install the bracket, I like to give these an inspection, make sure they still have flexibility and movement. And these are actually very good. In case yours are difficult to move or too hard, they don't move at all, you're going to have to take this apart and put some anti-seize inside or grease so that this can become mobile again, because you need that movement from the caliper area here. So make sure you check these before you install the caliper bracket. It is time to install the caliper bracket, but first I'm going to use thread locker, Loctite, whatever you would like to call it, on the caliper bolts, the caliper bracket bolts. Okay, don't go overboard, just use a good amount. Okay guys, the torque spec for the caliper bracket bolt is about 74 foot-pounds. Okay, so I'm going to use my torque wrench to torque these, and then we can go ahead and move on to the caliper. Now that we have our caliper bracket nice and torqued down, these are the actual brake pads for the vehicle. Okay, you see two of them comes with a wear indicator, so you have a pair with and a pair without. So you're gonna go match these two together and these two together. Do not put both of the pads with the wear indicator together. It's supposed to be one and one. Okay, so a pair and a pair. Okay, and always make sure that the pad with the wear indicator goes on the inside of the wheel. Next, we're going to install the brake pads. Like I said, one indicator with and one without on one side, and then the other on the other side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some anti-seize, or you can use brake grease, but I'm going to use anti-seize. And I'm going to put anti-seize on all the moving components of this system here, just so I can make sure there won't be no noise in the future. So I'm going to do first this areas here. I'm going to put some anti-seize there. You're going to put some anti-seize here, okay, as well as on the other one, and as well as the one on the other side. Okay, you're also going to put a little anti-seize on this area, because remember, the brake pads goes on here and there's constantly being pressured and then depressurized, pressure and depressurized, so there's a little bit of movement going on here. So you're going to put some anti-seize here as well, and as well on the other sides before you install the brake pad. Okay, don't get crazy with it. Do not put too much. You do not want to get any on the rotor, or you definitely don't want to get any on this area of the pad, because this is the pad that actually creates the friction with the rotor. Okay guys, just want to let you see how it just has a small amount of anti-seize on all four sides. Okay, give some nice lubrication there to that movement. Now we're going to install the caliper. Okay guys, now we have to return this piston back to its position over here, so that we can have enough room for these pads, because remember, these pads are thicker and the caliper was just compensating for the for the wear and the wear. But now we have to return this piston back to its position over here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use these pliers. We're going to put them in here, so, and then we're going to use the brake hose bolt here as a guide to you know, provide the pressure to return the caliper. Okay, but before we do that, make sure you unloosen the brake reservoir cap, just because when you return a piston from a caliper, you're basically pushing the fluid back up, and in case that does happen, I don't want the piston to basically return itself, because the pressure has nowhere to basically not escape or basically to live. Okay guys, now this shouldn't take too much force to return. If it's taking you too much pressure or too much strength to return this caliper, then there could be an issue with the caliper. Okay, so as you can see, this is a slow process, guys. Don't do it too fast. Let the fluid, you know, work its way up. You don't have to do it fast. Okay guys, that's how far as it retracts. You will know that because then it gets real hard here and there's no more piston travel left. So once you do that, you're ready to install the caliper in its position. Okay guys, I'm going to use the same anti-seize that I used on the pads, and I'm going to put some on this area. I'm going to put some on this area because this mates with the pads, and just a tiny bit on the actual piston itself, just on this area here, the area that mates with the pad. Okay guys, this is what we have so far. You have some on there, not too much, just enough to coat the area. And now it's time to wrap it around these pads. Okay guys, I've already torqued down these bolts as well. These are about 21 foot-pounds. Okay, I've already torqued these down, so now we're going to install the wheel. Make sure you put the top to the reservoir back on until it locks. Okay guys, we have both sides put back together. We have the wheels tightened. I lowered the vehicle already. So now this is a crucial step, okay? Do not forget to do this step. Due to the fact that the pistons on the caliper, we retracted them, you know, to its maximum, they're still not completely sitting on the brakes, okay? And they have to be pressurized on the brakes a little bit, or else you're gonna crank the vehicle up, and then as soon as you try to press a brake, you're not gonna have no brakes because the fluid pressure is just traveling to the pistons and beginning to expand them to where the brakes are. So what you're gonna do is, before you crank the vehicle, you're gonna step on the brakes 3 times or until it grabs in slow pauses. So you're gonna do 1. It's gonna go all the way up to the floor because right now the fluid is traveling to the pistons. Good. On the 3rd try, you should start feeling some pressure. There you go, you see? It's not going to the floor anymore. It's basically pressurized now. Okay. Now you may crank the vehicle up and the vehicle should be ready to go. So thanks guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you.